going to get we got a pass last year because injuries, experience is an excuse, and so I think that's the thing is
you
that
still got the talent.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. And another thing that's going to be huge in this game that they've got to be able to do, especially the young guys, since we're talking about them. You've got to be able to move the ball efficiently against this zone because there are going to be opportunities there. But we've seen it so many times this year that whenever the opportunities are there, they cannot make the passes when they need to. They got to be better at doing that in this game.
And I think maybe the week off allowed them to that. Like, granted, you're not in a rhythm in terms of your playing, but you're getting a chance to work more in practice. And I think for Carolina, for this team, practice benefits them as much as any team that they've had in recent recent memory. Another thing I think you'd look at is last two games. You had game winners from Leaky Black and Andrew Platek. How do they build from that? Their confidence level should be sky high. Andrew Platek has turned into a leader on the court for Carolina, both with his play and more with his voice. And Leaky Black, he's become more aggressive really since that Georgia Tech game. After he got benched, his offensive game has really picked up, and he's played better on the defensive end. So you're starting to see some pieces starting to come together, but it's never going to look as good until Caleb Love and R.J. Davis can even give you what Kerwin Walton's giving you, which is just consistent offense. They're not going to be consistent defenders because they're young, and frankly, they're just, the experience factor matters more on the defensive end than on the offensive end in this league, and you're seeing that happen with Carolina. But you're never going to see Carolina reach their potential until you're getting more out of Caleb Love and R.J. Davis. But the main thing I say, this is a really big game for Carolina, but it's a very winnable game for Carolina. And I think they're going to win. And I think it's going to be just like Miami, and it's going to be just like Notre Dame. I don't know if they're going to get out of the 70s. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but for all the complaining that I've done, that the fan base has done, they've made timely plays the last two games when they needed to make them, mainly on the defensive end of the court. This is a 12th rated defensive team in terms of efficiency, according to KenPom. So after all the graphic complaining after losses to State and to Georgia Tech, they've gotten their act together back on the defensive end of the court. That's what Carolina's going to have to win moving forward. I think they'll win the game tomorrow night defensively.
Yeah, I think you look at the matchup, again, Roy Williams, extremely successful against Syracuse, 9 of the last 10, as you mentioned. And he loves going up against these zones. I think that he'll be able to find a way to potentially get Garrison Brooks into a rhythm. I like the fact that, again, Syracuse is not a team that has been able to get themselves going this season with everything that's been going on with COVID. I mean, you've only played 2 games since the middle of December. So it's definitely a tough ask for them to have to go in and play a Carolina team that has gotten into, believe it or not, even with the 6-day layoff, a little bit of the ACC flow. So I think that that definitely helps Carolina out. But they've got to come ready. This is a rock fight. Syracuse is the type of team that the way Carolina has had to play the last 2 games is the way that they are going to want to play themselves in this game. And they can win playing that way. Jim Boeheim has done it before. So I think Carolina's got to be ready for a tough test, but I think Carolina finds a way to win it. This is a weird year in the ACC. There's nobody outside of, like I said, I think Clemson's probably the best team in the conference. It wouldn't shock me tomorrow if Clemson turned around and lost to Notre Dame or Miami this year. That's just what this conference is. So there's so much parity, and you feel like this is a chance for Carolina to step up. I think they know that in their minds. Their senior leaders know that, guys like Andrew Platek and Leaky Black, like you talked about, and they're going to be able to step up and get a win. It's going to be very close. And again, it's not going to be a pretty game by any means, but Carolina gets the game.
Yeah, the only thing I hate about this is it's going to be a late game because they don't tip off till 9 o'clock. So, if they lose.
Dude, you in those late games, man, you are getting old extremely quick on this podcast.
I love early games. I love playing early on Saturday.
Duke, right?
Yeah, Duke is the only time I want to play late when the whole country can watch the greatest rivalry in college basketball and in American sports. But, so if they lose, my night's going to be ruined. I'm not going to be any sleep. But if they win, I'll still be able to sleep because I'll be that excited. But 9 o'clock tonight in the Smith Center ACC Network, we'll have the coverage. And, of course, you can check out the guys on the Trail Sports Network. Jones Angel and Eric Montross will have the call. So with that, we'll go ahead and get you guys out of here before we let you go. Talk about the website, HeelToughBlog.com. Football season, we put a wrap on that on the Heel Tough Blog podcast with our award show. You can be able to check that out. Final grades, Anthony article giving out a grading for every position group. Check that out. There's a lot of disagreement in some of the Facebook groups. Some guys arguing with Anthony about
not happy about the offense.
Yeah, about some of the grades that were given there. So check out all that.
We won. Every other one they like.
Right. So check all that out. We are moving into more basketball focus because it is now basketball season. There'll be a lot of football content on the website. So don't
baseball
and baseball once we get closer to that, as there'll be a new manager in the dugout for the Tar Heels this year when we get to baseball season. And lastly, we encourage you to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Find us on every major podcasting platform, mostly Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, you name it. The Roy's Boys podcast is there. Give us a like, give us a review. That way we can move up some of those leaderboards and some new people can find the podcast and join the podcast family. Most importantly, we want you guys to subscribe. That way you get every podcast in your podcast library. Well, with that, we'll thank Anthony for taking some time out of his championship Monday night to talk North Carolina basketball. We thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels.